Bright Tuty. Every student matters.
We'll see another thing, that is people or arguments in favor of democracy. See the first point. A democratic government is better government. Why? Because it is more accountable form of government. What do you mean by that, accountable form of government? Government which is responsive towards the needs and desires of the people. Government which is accountable. The people who have chosen that government, now it is the duty of the government to work for those people. That means the elected government, they have the accountability for those people who have given their very precious right, the precious vote. Now it is their duty, it is the duty of the elected government to work for those people. So it is more accountable form of government. Now to explain this particular point, again I'll use one more example. Example of again China. Now what is there? There was a famine in 1958-61. It was the worst famine in world history and nearly 3 crore people died. Children, have you ever heard about any such famine in our country? Answer is no. Now, the answer why we never had this kind of calamity, the famine in our country, it's all because of the form of government that we have. Why in our country we never had this kind of situation? Because our elected government always have the sufficient amount of food grains, they have food security, because government is worried about the criticism by the opposition party. If our government also does not fulfill the needs, the food requirement of the people, and this famine happens, then the opposition will raise voice against the democratic elected government, and the government definitely will collapse in future if they never fulfill the demands of the people. But in China, they are not bothered about winning and losing, because there's only one party rule and that party is always there in the government. They are not worried about losing in the election. That is why that government is not accountable government. They don't care about they don't even really care about the people who die in that famine. But in our country, it really does matter. They have to see to it that if a single person die because of this scarcity of food grain, there will be opposition party to criticize the government, and our government never wants that. And that is why we say why democracy is a better government, because it is an accountable government. It fulfills needs and desires of the people. Their accountability lies with those people who have chosen them. The people who have trusted shows trust in that government. So obviously it is comparatively a better form of government. If we compare this government with the non-democracy, democracy government is a better form of government. Now another merit or argument in favor of democracy is it improves the quality of decision making. Now remember we discussed one demerit. Remember, many people have to be consulted and delays decision. But you know that if the time is taken to take a decision, such decisions in which they have taken a lot of time, they had a lot of discussions and deliberation. Children, such decisions, though it takes time, but such decisions will be better, will give good results for a wider section of society, and such decisions will be best in the long run. Decisions which are taken in a hurry might look good, but such decision will only be for the betterment of a smaller section of society and will good for a short period. So if the time is taken to take a decision, it's worth, because the time which is taken to take a decision, it actually is giving benefit to a larger section of society and for longer run. That is why it improves the quality of decision making. Okay. Now, another is it provides method to deal with the differences and conflicts. Children, I'll give one more example. Take example of India. India is a land of diversities. We have different kind of people, differences in terms of language, caste, religion, culture, food habits. Different kind of people are living in our country, and people with having all sorts of differences might create conflicts. But if we have a democratic government, children, do you know that democratic government is comparatively a better government when it comes to deal with these conflicts? Because if people started suffering from these kind of differences and conflicts, the country cannot be, country cannot develop, because for development we need a peaceful environment, a peaceful situation in the country. But with these differences and conflict, where is that peace? And that hampers country's development. But a democratic government never turns its, never turn its eye, blind. They always look into each and every single conflict. They always try to solve such conflicts. It is the democratic government only. Non-democratic government never bothers about the killing of the people, the unrest created in the country. But a democratic government does think about the peace and order. They have to maintain peace and order, and that is why a democratic government always try to deal with the differences and conflicts, because they have to maintain a peaceful atmosphere, because people have a trust in that government, and the democratic government have to fulfill that trust which people have in them. Okay. Now another is it enhances the dignity of citizens. What does that mean? Dignity. A democratic government treats everyone equally. In the eyes of democratic government, everybody is equal, whether a person is rich, poor, upper caste or lower caste. Everybody has been given equal rights to vote also, and they have been given equal opportunities. So that is how we can say that they enhances dignity. Even people who are less in number in our country, people who are in minority, even they do not feel alienated. They don't feel discriminated, because everybody in our country, whether the person is in majority or in minority, from upper caste, lower caste, rich or poor, everybody is having the same status in society. That is why democratic government is comparatively a better form of government. Now another, last. Democracy allows us to correct our mistake. Now, what kind of mistakes we have committed, or we can commit under democracy? Yes, we can commit a mistake, and the mistake is to choose the wrong leaders. Suppose this time in the election we have elected some wrong set of rulers or some wrong party, but we can correct our mistake, but for that we have to wait for 5 years. Okay, so after 5 years, again when we'll get a chance to elect, we will not commit that mistake again. We will correct our mistake. How will we correct our mistake? By not choosing that particular party or leader in the election. That is how democracy allows us to correct our mistake. Whereas in non-democracy, you cannot change the ruler. So how can you correct your mistake? Once the ruler, always a ruler. You cannot change that particular person if a person is working in favor or against you. But in our country, definitely, if a government is not working for your wishes, not fulfilling your desires or wishes, you have the right to change that ruler the next time when you get a chance to vote, and that is after 5 years. Okay, and even before 5 years, because of the collapse of government, when we have midterm election, then also you can correct your mistake. So, we have seen in our country, we have seen so many arguments in favor of democracy. So, after looking into these arguments in favor of democracy, we can say democracy is comparatively, I'm not saying it is the best form of government, but I'm saying it is comparatively, when it is compared with non-democracy, it is comparatively a better form of government. Because it does have certain weak points, but still the positive points are much more stronger than the demerits, the arguments against. So that is why we can conclude that democracy is a comparatively a better form of government. So till now we just have seen the very minimal definition of democracy, that is rulers elected by the people.